In the last Ryder Cup at Whistling Straits, the United States beat the European squad in pretty decisive fashion. The 19-9 victory was the largest margin since continental Europe began participating in this biennial event back in 1979. So Steve Stricker is a pretty tough act to follow as captain. Last February, five-time Ryder Cupper Zach Johnson was named captain of the US team that will play at Marco Simone Golf and Country Club in Rome, Italy this September.
And more news today. Two-time Ryder Cup captain Davis Love III has been named assistant captain for the U.S. squad. Davis most recently captained the U.S. in the President's Cup as they defeated the international team 17.5 to 12.5. Think about Davis's career in the Ryder Cup. 6 times a player, 9, 12, and 5 record, played on the last U.S. team to win on the road back in 1993. Where were you? Two-time U.S. Ryder Cup captain, lost in 2012, came back and won in 2016. And the World Golf Hall of Fame member joins us now. Davis, just when you thought you were out, they pull you back in. At 58, having considered being done after Paris, why is this the kind of job you still want to do?
Well, I just love helping out. You know, Susan Martin, that ran our Ryder Cup team for so long, and I were sitting in Chicago in the hotel Monday morning after that disappointing loss. And I said, I'll just be all-time equipment manager if you want me to. Anything to help these teams win. And I've been very blessed. Since Corey asked me in 2010 to be his assistant, I've been on almost every team since then in some way, shape, or form. And I just love doing it. It's the highlight of our year as players or as captains to get to go on these Ryder Cup trips.
Well, Zach played for you in 2012 and 2016, went 5-2-0 in those 2 matches. Why is he the right man to help the U.S. win for the first time on the road since you were a rookie in 1993?
Well, Zach's been obviously a great player. He's been well respected on the PGA Tour for a long time as a leader, within the Player Advisory Council or in any role. He's somebody that the players really look up to. Plus, as you said, he's been an assistant captain. He's been around these teams. And we all just love Zach. We went straight from Charlotte into Ryder Cup mode. You know, he was headed over to Italy. He's been working really hard since he was announced captain. He and Kim, his wife, are going to do an incredible job. So he's the right man. He's been in this system. He helped me so much in Charlotte with the stats and things behind the scenes. So he's up to speed and ready to go, and obviously he's going to have a great team.
Davis, the backroom team has been remarkably consistent since the task force era. We've seen a lot of you, we've seen a lot of Stricker, a lot of Furyk. Now Zach's vice captains announced so far are you and Steve Stricker. With all due respect, is there a succession plan here? When do we see the next generation of leaders who are going to follow guys like you and Jim Furyk? Do you expect Zach to announce guys who might potentially be captains 2 years down the road?
Yeah, that was what we kind of agreed to with the PGA of America back in 2014-15 was we're not just going to bring 4 buddies to the Ryder Cup and hang out and watch. It's going to be guys that are committed, former captains as assistants and future captains as assistants. That's why Zach is ready for this role. Obviously, things have changed a little bit in our captain's order, and Zach was ready to go when they said, we need you for Rome. So, yes, you saw Webb Simpson in Charlotte. Obviously, that was a layup because it's his home course. He didn't quite make the team. He's very well respected. We've had Matt Kuchar was with us over in Paris. We've got some guys and a few other names. We have too many names for too few spots on our assistant captains. But I really do need to hand it off to somebody else. But when Stricker says, no, I really need you, you guys understand these stats more than me. Or when Zach says, look, it's an away game in Rome. I don't want to change too much because we've had so much success lately. I'm happy to hang in there and help out.
Let's jump back 30 years. You were on the team the last time the United States won in Europe when Tom Watson was your captain. What's your strongest memory of that week? And did you ever imagine that 3 decades later you'd still be waiting for another away game victory?
That is one of the most incredible stats in golf. As many great teams as we've had, for some reason we don't rise to the occasion enough on away games in the Ryder Cup. Part of it obviously is not knowing the golf course, but Zach's got some plans to handle that. But it's hard to believe that I'm still around 30 years later and still playing a little bit of golf and still on these teams. But, you know, that's what's so great about the Ryder Cup. There's so much history. There's so much up and down. There's so much back and forth. And any team can win when you tee it up. So I don't know the 12 on our side or the 12 on their side, but it'll be an incredible match over there in Rome.
Davis, I'll be honest, if I was preparing for a road game, I'd want some antagonistic personalities, guys like Brooks, Bryson, Patrick Reed. How do you guys replace that outlaw energy?
Well, we've got some guys that are really passionate. You know, I think we've got a really good group of guys that work really hard on their games and making the team. But, you know, the Scheffler passion and the Justin Thomas, Jordan Spieth passion, Cantlay and Schauffele are kind of quiet, but those guys are dead serious about this. I've been really, really impressed. Morikawa, these guys come in ready to play and serious about it. They like the fun part of it, but they want to. Nobody wants to be on a losing team, and I've never seen more prepared teams. Gosh, Whistling Straits was just incredible, and then Charlotte was incredible. How ready these guys are to play. So it might not be, rub you the wrong way kind of guys, but they're passionate guys about winning these Cup teams.
Davis, it's still somewhat undetermined what role any live guys might actually have in Ryder Cups going forward. Are you fairly certain you're not going to see any of them on the United States team in Rome? And if there are any on the European side, do you think your team would kind of bristle at that a little bit and take it as extra motivation to try to prove a point?
Well, I don't know where it's all going. Obviously, it's been a big controversy for a long time. Trevor Immelman and I had a long couple years being captains leading up to Charlotte. Obviously, he lost a lot more players than the U.S. did. I don't see any road for them to play on our Ryder Cup team, certainly right now. I don't know what's going to happen with the European team. But what I do know is that the European team is going to have 12 guys that dearly want to win the Ryder Cup and not let us come over there and steal it. So if we can get past that stuff and go play golf like we did in Charlotte, I mean, we had a heck of a match there. Obviously, we were favored in Charlotte, but we had a heck of a match. And I think we'll have an incredible match in Rome. And frankly, we have to get over there and figure out that golf course, or it's going to be tough for us.
Going back to that European team, this narrative has taken root, Davis, that LIV has weakened the European team, that they will have 12 guys who aren't the 12 best guys out there. And a lot of the European players aren't doing anything to discourage that narrative out there. Are you buying it that they're actually going to be a weaker team at all?
No, they're very good at playing the underdog and playing that card and firing themselves up. So, you know, again, whether it's 93 or 2023, any 12 group of PGA Tour, DP World Tour players that play against each other, anybody has a chance to win in match play. That's what you've seen, as I said, in an away game for us. The home team seems to rise to the occasion more than we do. So that's one thing Zach's really focused on is, hey, how do we get over there and play like we do at home? You know, how do we learn the golf course? How do we get prepared mentally and physically for an away game? And, you know, just like an NFL team going over and playing in London, it's a different than your normal tournament. So we just have to get a little bit better, but I don't buy it. They're going to be really good no matter what.
Davis, you have now spent more than half of your life connected to this event as a player or captain or assistant. What was your earliest Ryder Cup memory, maybe watching with your dad? What do you remember about your earliest time being a fan of the Ryder Cup?
Well, I've said this, I've used this analogy a lot. When we lost the America's Cup yacht race, everybody got really interested in it. And when we lost the Ryder Cup and watching Seve come into the Ryder Cup team, Bernard Langer, and it get competitive, that's when I got excited about it. But, you know, when I was hitting the tour, it wasn't that big of a deal, the Ryder Cup, to make the Ryder Cup team. It took me a couple years to go, wait. This is something that I want to be a part of. I was trying so hard to make that team at Kiowa in 1991 and just missed it. And it's just become a part of my life. Like being on the board of the PGA Tour, I love being a part of an organization that's doing so much good and that's so competitive. And being a part of the PGA's Ryder Cup team is really, honestly, is the highlight of my career, is just being a part of it, much less being a captain or being on a winning team.
Davis, you mentioned the process that has been put in place by keeping past captains involved as sources of wisdom, future captains in there as well. It's noticeable now that Europe has kind of hit this reset button. They've brought back the Hero Cup, which was the old Sevi Cup years ago, to try to breed this generation of future captains. Did you pay any attention to what was going on over there last weekend in terms of, we know Luke Donald was the puppet master of it all, but were you paying attention to the pairings that he had or any of the action that was happening there?
I didn't, but I did notice that Luke was involved. So that's what I'm saying is we spend all year getting ready for the Ryder Cup, 2 years in Zach's case. And so Luke's already on it. He's working on his pairings, working on planning the back office stuff. So I paid attention to that. Our stats team will analyze what they did over there for us and tell us what their pairings were and what happened. And we'll get into that a little bit later. But yes, we pay attention to everything they do. We learned a lesson from them in 2012, 13, 14, that the European team was more organized and forward looking than we were. And we've had to get up our game a little bit to keep up with them. So they have a great system and it's worked really, really well. And I know Luke's been involved in it for a long time. Davis,
has there been any thought about a potential American version of the Hero Cup, an Arnie Cup, a Jack Cup, something to give the Americans a little bit of an appetizer before the big meal in the fall?
Well, Zach's talking about practice rounds, but that's the way we look at our team USA Golf, is we get to do it every year. Those guys don't get to do it every year, so they need a little bit of a warm up. But we just had a great warm up in Charlotte. We'll have hopefully a lot of those same guys. We had some new guys in Charlotte. They got broken into the system of being on a team. We had Sam Burns, Max Homa, guys that hadn't played before, and now they're fired up to be on the Ryder Cup team. So we don't look at it as, oh my gosh, we have to do this every year. We love doing it every year. President's Cup, as soon as we finish President's Cup, we shift gears right back to Ryder Cup.
You mentioned earlier, Davis, in an aside, that the U.S. team has kind of changed the order of its captains. I assume that was a reference to Phil Mickelson, who was so long presumed to be the likely captain 2 years down the road at Bethpage Black. That seems unlikely to happen now. Do you have any idea who will be that captain? And do you see any way back for Phil Mickelson as far as future Ryder Cup role goes?
No, unfortunately, that's what a lot of us Ryder Cup team captains and board members of the PGA Tour, that's what we try to explain to these guys is, don't you understand these ramifications of leaving the tour or going up against the PGA Tour? And no, I don't see a path back for Phil right now, especially in the next few teams. So to answer your question, yeah, we have a long list of guys. I have some calls the next couple of days with Zach to sort that kind of thing out. But it threw our order off for sure. But we've got some really good guys that need to be Ryder Cup captain. We've got some guys that are going to be brought into the fold, whether they're assistants this year or next time around, that'll set us up for the future. But it's disappointing that guys lost that history and legacy at the end of their career.
Davis, before we let you go, I'm noticing this rack of Carolina blue pullovers behind you. Are you trying to try out for Hubert Davis's basketball team, or is that a potential Ryder Cup outfit for the guys?
I'm actually in the RSM tournament office, and this is the leftovers from the merchandise tent. So if you're driving north again, stop in and pick up some RSM Carolina blue gear.
Well, it looks good. It looks like I'm wearing the exact same thing on this Tuesday. Davis, congratulations. We always appreciate the time with you, and best of luck in Roma.
All right, thanks. Look forward to seeing you guys.